Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
John Riggio, our pro tennis player, architect, and your friend, joining us here today to talk more about his endeavors, his book, his new beautiful bride, his company. He does so much, and we're excited to have you here. And where are we going to start for today?
Today, I think I have some very nice stories. I think I was remembering a lot of tennis stories from the past, and in the recent weeks, I had talked about some present things going on in my personal life and some nice stories. But today, I'd like to talk about a piece of the tennis playing that I haven't talked about before. This is something completely new. What was happening is, for one, my tennis stories last year in 2025, I made a book. And it's called My Own Court, The Life Story of Tennis Legend John Riggio. It shows from when I was very young to the present time, stories of how my tennis playing developed and how I also was involved in my professional architect career as I was playing tennis, providing income for me. And the stories are very good. The book is very clean, simple. It's good for young readers, older readers. If you're also someone who maybe was like a teenager in the 80s, you'd really like things that you're familiar with. And but what was happening also, I had some very interesting stories of my girlfriend back then, Delilah, and there was some really wild things going on. What was happening first, just to start in chronological order, my girlfriend Delilah, who was such a nice female, she's very talented. She won a beauty contest in the neighborhood we lived in. We lived in the same neighborhood, which was Jericho, New York, on Long Island. And she was someone who always went to work every day. She used to work at Anthony on the mall. And she unfortunately had parents that were a little extreme for her. They got her involved with a lot of adult entertainment. A lot of it was they used her to pay the bills. And I think the fact of that basic thing wasn't really what was corrupting her problem. I don't know what it was, but as I started to go out with her at a young age, initially, the mother, the father, they both liked me. And I think over time, someone must have gotten into their lives somehow and really affected Delilah. And she was, I think one interesting thing about Delilah was she was in the same path as a lot of females I know. And even entertainers like myself who received this thing with the black Mercedes-Benz. I think when I was young, I received a black Mercedes-Benz, and the idea was for me to drive it around. But the problem with driving it around was, since I was a young boy, not a girl that can get away with anything or didn't have problems, I, in fact, had too many infractions to drive the car. They wouldn't let me drive it, which is typical of any young boy. And, so that might have saved my life, because I didn't realize it till years later that gift of the car, if I drove it around, very possibly my car would get rammed. Because with the memories I was thinking about some female entertainers I know. They always are given this black Mercedes. And this black Mercedes is really like something very cruel to do to somebody, because there's 100% chance when someone is driving a black Mercedes that they're going to get rammed so hard. And 100% of the time, they all got rammed really hard. Delilah got rammed in the car. In fact, her father was driving the car, and they ended up in the hospital. And she had to have an operation on her ribs. They had to put a pin in her ribs. And this is at a young age. Since she started her entertainment through the father and the mother doing adult entertainment, they gave her this car as a gift, and it was a sign that she was successful. In fact, she showed me a whole stack of her videos in her bedroom that she had. And but she really didn't like doing that kind of work too much. She was very simple, very innocent. She didn't care too much about that kind of adult work. She knew she was forced to really do it to raise money for the family. But this thing with the Mercedes was a very sad issue because she did get rammed in it. And then I know from
Uh,
some other entertainers, they end up getting rammed in their black Mercedes. And I remember one in particular, um, they never drove a car again after that. So they got this
uh,
gift knowing they're doing very good. It's really expensive looking. And it turned out to be like a practical joke on them, which is really sad. The sad thing is, I received one of those cars too, but luckily, since I'm a boy, I did not get to drive it around. So I was saved from that problem, which is really the strangest story. That very possibly would have ended my tennis career very early at a
yeah.
certain point. And I think so this happened to Delilah too. At a young age, she didn't have a driver's license yet.
Wow.
She was already a young star. But what happened with that particular family is that things got more and more extreme. What happened is, well, her father was really from Shanghai, China, and they used to raise chickens in their house just as like something to get like a little extra hobby, and they used to kill them and eat them. So what happened? They got into this father's life, and they had this thing with kidnap. They had this gay lover,
Oh my
and
gosh.
then one day his gay lover. It turned out Delilah had told me the story, crying that they have all these children in the basement kidnapped. So I think it was like crying out for help. So what I did was I did call for help, and I think I had said the whole story. I don't want to say the whole story over,
Mm-hmm.
but I was able to get them freed. I called for help, and they had official authorities come in and save all those kids.
Ah,
But what was happening at that time was there was this whole thing in the mall with friends, and I started to make new friends. I think everyone that I knew in the mall, they were all in agreement they did not like anything with kidnapping. Obviously, you know, if there's any kidnapping, it's going to spread. It can spread to yourself. No one wants that problem. I said some other stories about stopping kidnappings in the area. So, in all in agreement, everyone did not like them, which was good. I was around people that didn't care about anything with kidnapping. So, helping stop the kidnappers, they did not try to bother me. They were supportive of me. They liked me better. And I think from this conversation, which was interesting, in my neighborhood where I lived in, just by chance, they referred a new friend to me, and his name was Jericho. I think you might have seen on television in politics. So what happened is, over time, over those years, I was playing my pro tennis. Pro tennis is pretty high in all those different things. It was very interesting, very high level. So from that time, I had those friendships. And then going forward in time, a few years later, heading over to like 1998, 1997, 1998. I'm back playing tennis. My contract is bought over by John Kellogg. So John Kellogg was the youngest of my sponsors. And I think the one thing about him being the youngest of my sponsors, he sort of met the worst problems and really was trying to learn fast on what to do about it. One thing he encountered is as I started playing for him and I was older, but I was still winning a lot of those tournaments, he was getting threatened. Every time I won a tournament and he got a lot of money for the job and everything was great, he started to get threatened. He told me someone threatened him with a handgun, they were making threats to him on the telephone, death threats to him all the time. And so he wasn't sure what to do. So he had to ask back through the channels where he is what to do. And he hired a bodyguard. He hired a bodyguard, and the bodyguard was there for a number of weeks, months. I don't know how long he was there. But as we played, John Kellogg was trying to pick up learning how to do the sponsorship. I think this thing with the tennis sponsorship is sort of better if you're much older in age. He wasn't even that much older than me. I think he was, I don't know if he was 5, 6 years older than me or something like that. He wasn't that many years older than me doing this. And I thought it was good that he was really trying to do this for me because, you know, it was difficult to get your contract going and your plan going, but he was willing to do this. He put the money into it, and he was trying to get things going. I think as you start to win the matches, I start to ask questions, about cars and things like that, or but he was starting to learn. So he very interesting was learning all these things, and unfortunately, as he was learning and I was playing good, I was winning the matches. He was getting threatened. He did not like this. It was putting his life into a big problem. So his security guard that he hired, but I don't know what the reason why he was. Maybe he was feeling he didn't want to help him anymore. I have no idea what the reason was, but he left the job. So he didn't know what to do. So he started making some phone calls. He called over to the family's college, Northwestern University. They have this whole department with the security, and they couldn't help him at all. They had no way to give him any advice, which was very strange. He started to get himself into a game, sort of very interesting, a high-level game that I was doing sometimes was making phone calls and using up all my credits to make different phone calls, and hopefully things work out. So this was the college that he called that was telling him not to call him back, and I'm back again. So he was already getting into that interesting thing because he was much younger. He wasn't really that many years older than me, and so which was very interesting. So he, at that point, he sort of asked me. He said, "Do I know anyone that could help him?" So I just thought about it a minute, and I said, "Yes, I do know. I know Draco," and I give him the phone number. I think I might have called Draco on the phone at this time. I don't remember. Like years ago, I had so many phone numbers, high-level phone numbers. I had everyone's mobile phone number. After the little downfall in '99, I lost all my numbers, my phone numbers. I don't have any of them anymore. But years ago, I had so many phone numbers, so I can get this phone number. I can call them up, and after I put them two together, John Keller and Draco, he hired him, and John Keller was there with me, and he was saying, very emotional on the phone, that he just hired the A team to defend himself, from getting hurt, from being threatened for no reason. We were honest sport players there. We were doing everything legally correct, but the people who were losing in the sports, in the ATP, they were threatening to kill him, which was very serious. And it was coming out very clearly with him, and which was pretty sad. But this whole thing with the security guard, Draco, which I had made friends with years ago with all those things with Delilah. In fact, at the time I referenced Draco to John Kellogg, Delilah had passed on. Unfortunately, she had died by some kind of homicide domestic problem that occurred after I had come back from the trip to Hawaii to see my Mitsubishi sponsors, and she had passed away at that time. So this is very interesting. So now John Kellogg has his security. He doesn't have any problems. And I think just at that time, this whole partnership I put together with them, where he was able to hire some new security for himself, worked very well. And they stayed with him for a long time. In fact, the job was not a boring job, too, because there was all kinds of adult entertainment going on in different areas. So the job I got, my friend who was in security, I got him this job, and there was a lot of fun available for him, too. It wasn't a boring job. Although it was dangerous, it wasn't a boring job. And I didn't put the connection together that somehow him getting this job with high-level people, with John Kellogg knows Helmsley and everything like that. Because I saw the political turmoil going on a number of years ago on television, and he was there. His other stuff was Bennett. So what's happening is that was really very interesting. I didn't think about it too much. I think the whole thing with referencing the security professional Draco was really to do good, honest things, and it obviously was. It was just very simple, helping him. So people wanting to attack him could not get to him, could not kill him, things like that. It was really very simple, and but that was very good. I think personally myself, I did not have a security guard because whatever they threatened to John Kellogg, they could come over to me and tried to do the same thing. I think over the years I hadn't said that people were trying to maybe shoot at me, threaten me, do all kinds, and that is what was happening. So there was really very interesting things going on there, and I think that was really amazing.
Hi,
So I
did we
think
lose you? There you go. There you go, though.
so I think with the dangers that was happening, I think just talking about them with the dangers of John Kellogg, there was a danger that was really very serious that took. Um, I had talked about some other events that happened, but I think if you were to watch those movies, you see those movies by a guy named Generis. There's this guy named Generis. He made a series of movies that were very adult. They had a lot of adult actors in there too, just to make it interesting because
Okay.
there's fun going on. But I think the system of what was going on there was very serious. I didn't know, but I think as I was playing, they were trying to do the same kind of thing, send like two assassins to get me, to get John Kellogg. It was very serious. I was young, I could handle anything. I did not care. I think one time what happened is I uncovered this plot where they ended up sending two assassins to try to kill me. And the two assassins, I wasn't sure what country they were from. There's all kinds of countries. Usually, when you're growing up, you're involved with certain types of groups of people. You not necessarily know all like 110 different groups of people. But it turns out, as I was taking the subway, there was a male and a female, and they didn't say their origins, but just by chance they talked to me on the subway. I think if you're on the subway, you're taking a subway car someplace, do you usually talk to someone next to you? No, most people would never talk to someone next to them. But I'm there, I'm wearing my sweats, I have my tennis rackets with me, it's early in the morning. And the guy talked to me for a while, then the female lady talked to me for a while. As this is happening, they thought maybe I was like maybe dumb or something. But I ended up calling the authorities about it,
Oh my gosh.
and each one of them ended up getting caught.
Mm-hmm.
The lady, thinking that she is like just a spotter watching, she was very dangerous. She ended up having a handgun right in her bag.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so thinking that I'm going to take the subway every day, talking to people,
Wow.
and they're wondering what's going on. And I'm telling them, I'm going to the tennis center. I'm a pro tennis player. I think somehow some people had like a cell phone back there. It was too early for me to have a cell phone. Most people did not have a cell phone yet. I think maybe she might have had a cell phone. She could research on the cell phone, and which is very interesting. So this was really like a case of someone sending two people to maybe identify who it is, see if I'm someone they want to get rid of, and then maybe just shoot and kill me. And I think they were threatening me, and I didn't listen to them. What I did is I called the authorities, and I remember one day they were both taken into custody separately. The second one was the female, and she was threatening to shoot me right in the chest,
Oh
right
my
through her bag. She was
gosh.
going to shoot me right through her bag. Yeah. But what happened is I had the authorities picked her up right there on the subway, right on the subway landing, where the subway station, where the subway stops, you get out onto the platform. So right on that subway platform, yeah, I did see them arrest her, and they took the handgun right out of her bag very clearly. So what she was saying that she had the handgun and wanted to shoot me right there was the truth, and they did show proof that the handgun was right there. And this was another thing, but this was sort of very similar to those movies you watch where they send two people to try to assassinate me, and lucky I didn't. They weren't able to do it. I was all alone. I had to call for help myself. I had no
Yeah.
security guards or anything. And I think over time, a lot of times this issue came up about if John has any security guards around him, and usually they know I can just handle it myself. They don't really say I really need a security guard. I think only in Yale, after we were doing the story, we're going to Yale Cottage. The idea of having someone around them is more like an insurance for the cottage that they weren't going to have a problem, which was a very interesting story. But otherwise, in everyday playing tennis, they knew that they could stick me in there. Even on court 33, they know I was there around dangerous people,
Yeah.
and that I can make it through. So that's what really happened, and that was a really interesting story. So I think that is one thing about things like the dangers that were going on, and all the things of them getting threatened. And I think, unfortunately, the story with the John Kellogg, I think the threats to him, it sort of succumbed to him that he didn't want to really take my contract anymore. That's why he ended up putting it up for sale. The threats, he was a little younger. I think when people are much older, they can handle this threat to them. But I think for him, the threats were becoming too much. He even went on vacation for a while to think about it, not knowing what to do. And I think he just decided not to continue my contract because of the threats. It had nothing to do with my playing. My playing was winning. I was older. I was still winning. I was playing, and I didn't have any problems, but the threats started to succumb to him too much, started to give him too many problems. And like I was saying, he was much younger than most people were doing this kind of work. I was like must have been his first sponsorship for him to sponsor. I must have been his first, for him not to really know anything about security and things like that and everything.
Yeah.
That was really very interesting. I think him trying to do this, I thought was very good. I liked how he really wanted to try to do this. It was a really amazing hardline thing to sponsor me, ATP player, making a lot of money. And my contract was so high there. It's like up to going up past $120 million to $150 million.
What? I can't even imagine.
There's a lot of money involved with this whole thing.
Yeah, really clearly. Big. Wow.
And so that's his story. I think I didn't say that whole story in the book. I couldn't detail everything. I didn't want to make it too extremist story or too much where it's not ready for everyone to read. So I could just say here on the podcast what it was. But even saying those stories on the podcast, it's the same idea. We were doing good things. He was doing everything legally. And yet, as we won matches in the ATP, there was a third party that kept threatening him, sending people to try to kill him. And that's what was happening.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, we still got a minute and a half left. So, unfortunately, we got to kind of wrap it up, John, and tell our listeners how to reach you. Oof.
Just go on www.johnriggio.com. You can go onto my Facebook page, or my ex has a large following for John Riggio and has all my tennis information on there.
Thank you so much. And, wow. Quick question. Honeymoon plans. Where are we going? Anywhere soon?
Hawaii.
When is that?
Very soon, next few weeks.
Yay! Enjoy! All right, well, we'll talk more about it next week. I can't wait to hear the plans. I'm sure you're going to have a whole itinerary laid out. I know you. It's so thorough. Well, thank you again for being here, joining us, and goodbye, everyone. Tell Cherry hello.
Hello. My name is John Riggio. I'm the CEO of John Riggio, RA Architect, LLC. I provide architect services in the New York City metropolitan area. That includes New York City, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. My areas are specifically Long Island, the 5 boroughs of New York City, Westchester, Yonkers. In New Jersey, it is North Jersey, Central Jersey, and South Jersey. In Philadelphia, the areas are the Philadelphia metropolitan area. You can find out more information about my company at www.johnriggio.com. That's spelled JOHNRIGGIO.com. And there you will find out a description of my work. It shows a portfolio, pictures of the different job types, and I also have my contact information there. It shows my business address. From there, you can contact me, and we can discuss your project. First, we will make an initial consultation, and then from there, we will then go over designing your project and then constructing your project. So I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.